If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. And now, the Sunday address. You want to know why it is that practically all forms of popular media are in decline? It's things like this. The white media's campaign to make Cynthia Erivo a thing is still ongoing, and it turns out the thing they want to make her into is a man. I guess in a way that does make sense. Cynthia Erivo's femininity, such as it is, has always been woefully deficient. But British GQ has decided they're going all the way with it. They've made her their Man of the Year. And while I do agree that there's nothing feminine about Cynthia Erivo, it's still a fact that they're using her as an avatar for black women in general. And while I'm obviously not going to be sticking up for Cynthia Erivo, instead I'm going to be sticking these verbal daggers into her, the reality is the white media is holding her up as an avatar for black women in general. This is a total slap in the face to black women, and that's what it's meant to be. It also speaks volumes about how these white supremacists outside the U.S. feel that they can just spit in foreign black people's faces, especially foreign black women, and just be able to get away with it. In order to call themselves sprinkling sugar on crap, they decided that the article about her for their Man of the Year piece was going to be The Defiance of Cynthia Erivo. Defiance? Really? And then when you read it, it basically talks about how she decided that instead of having CGI make her face green for Wicked, she would wear face paint instead because she wanted to see herself as being green. Oh, how defiant. Defiance from a woman who made a career out of crawling on her belly and attacking foundational black Americans while at the same time having Hollywood give her roles playing as us, and even Harriet Tubman. This woman has not defied anything except for black solidarity and basic decency. And after the Harriet movie crashed, Hollywood put her on ice for a couple of years, then they quietly brought her back with that Wicked movie because it gave her a role where she could be hidden under a ton of makeup. And it was a big budget CGI musical, one of those movies where the set is the star, the special effect is the star, and not the talentless fool in green face paint and the Party City quality witch costume. I haven't seen the Wicked movie and I could care less about it. If the thing made money, I guess it's the triumph of effective marketing because it dang sure ain't the talent of the woman who's in front of the camera. But this is what Cynthia Erivo does for a follow-up, and that's how you know there's a program at work here. Whenever the white media gets these clowns and decides to put them on, there's always this janky crap that goes right along with it. They're the main ones out there doing it. And here you thought that Hollywood stopped its attack on black women's image with the woman king nonsense. Never mind the fact we have a word for a female ruler, it's called queen. But some Negroes are so silly, they try to take blatant insults and convince themselves that it's positive somehow, and the white media will play to this psychological weakness by telling you that, oh, it is defiant. Cynthia Erivo is so defiant. Yeah, a defiant man. Family, let that stand as a lesson to you. Do not ever let anyone give you a backhanded compliment, and then you try to tell yourself it's not as bad as all that. Viola Davis was out there talking like a fool when it came to that woman king thing, saying that she basically wanted the woman king to be her Black Panther. She thought that it was going to take her to the next level. Really? You're sitting here portraying a group of individuals who were instrumental in the slave trade, and on top of that, the entire point of the movie is to have a bunch of black women stunting around as if they're a bunch of dudes. This is not something that builds black women's image. This is how you tear black women's image down. Hollywood keeps putting out these big budget smear campaigns which laugh in black people's faces, portrays black women as being the enemy of black society, portrays black women as being men, and I'm supposed to think to myself, this is some sort of compliment? That this is doing a favor for the image of black people? No, it does not. This is devaluing and ultimately erasing black women is what they're doing across the board. Because if you can legitimately, or at least without somebody getting angry at you, say that, yeah, black women should be the Man of the Year, then why bother even acknowledging that black women exist? You've effectively erased them. And if some idiot calls themselves saying, well, this is an honor, don't you know, then why didn't British GQ decide to give a white woman this honor? Why didn't they find some transgender to give it to? No, they didn't do that because that would have set off a firestorm of controversy, especially in the current political climate. Why didn't they choose to do this with an Asian woman? Or even a light-skinned black woman for that matter? No, they made sure to pin this one onto a dark-skinned black woman. That was the entire point. The kind of dehumanization that a lot of you thought these white supremacists were too shy to do now, well, they're showing you they ain't shy at all. They were just waiting for the right mark to put in front of the camera, and with Cynthia Erivo, they found a hell of a mark. The white media spent years setting the stage for this. Every time you look up, they have a TV show or a movie, and if there's a black person in it, they made it a point to make sure that black person was LGBT or otherwise something other than heterosexual. That was them tiptoeing their way toward this. And where black women are concerned, they're openly declaring black women don't exist, and that their puppet is a symbol of defiance. That's 2 lies for the price of 1. And they know what the response to this is going to be, so don't expect them to be giving wall-to-wall publicity and coverage to this, but do expect that there's going to be a few of their little flunkies and sock puppets on their on-air TV media who will be saying, oh, this is such a great thing, think outside the box, oh, how powerful. Obviously, the black masses didn't sign on for this crap. Obviously, the black masses didn't ask for this and don't even want it. This is white power doing what it always does, giving itself permission to carry out some attack on black people's image. That's what they always do. So, well, we're going to give ourselves permission to do it. The same way these white supremacists are always trying to bestow innocence on themselves. They're always trying to absolve themselves of their crimes without actually doing anything to atone for them. Same thing goes here. Nobody asked for this, but they're going to do it anyway. And as for any sort of controversy or opposition, why, we got our bought and paid for sock puppets on air. They say that they don't have a problem with it, and we paid them to say they don't have a problem with it, so that means it must be okay. That's the game they always run. Cynthia Erivo's of Nigerian descent, and I'd like to know, where are the Nigerians in Britain at, or elsewhere to call this mess out? Or are some of them too busy trying to catch a boat to London? When mess like this goes down and there's not a hard, substantive pushback by the people in question, that only serves to encourage the next insult and the next, and each one will be worse than the one before. Man of the year indeed. And she's not outraged about it. Why would she be? She'll let the white media say anything they want about her as long as the check clears the bank. But the damage that it does to black women's image, it basically says black women are to be ridiculed, we'll hold them up as objects of derision. But worst of all, this kind of garbage racialist propaganda is meant to try to influence black women to take part in their own unwomaning, to unwoman themselves, telling black women that power means becoming a man. Because the unspoken message behind what the white media is doing is to basically whisper in your ear a steady drumbeat of being a woman isn't good enough. There's something wrong with being a woman. You need to try to become a man. Now, who in the world wants you to do that? A community cannot exist without its manhood and its womanhood. But if you want to sow the seeds of total chaos, just go ahead and tell them to get rid of either one. Because after all, being a woman simply isn't enough, and it's definitely not enough to be a black woman. That's definitely not what you want to be. That's a lie that they've been feeding women, and too many fall for it. Female empowerment, to hear the white media tell it, is appropriating what they say is male power. And the white media sells women all kinds of phallic symbols. That's artificial phalluses. From cigarettes to this hyperfixation on getting degrees, even though most of them are useless now, and only saddle black women in particular with debt. But that's what they do. The cigarette, hey, this is your phallic symbol. And you take a degree, go ahead and roll it up and take a picture with it. That's your phallic symbol. It's not true power, definitely not a woman's power, it's not women empowerment. But this is your little artificial phallus, and you can take a picture with it and say, see what I did. And no, I don't think it's a coincidence that they chose this foreign woman to make the face of the unfeminine black woman. Every time the white powers that be have tried to fly some trial balloon to see if they could get a foundational black American woman to do it, they always got maximum resistance. Now, something else that also needs to be remembered here, there's a reason why the white media is always taking shots at womanhood and femininity and such. Whenever they do this kind of stuff, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why when it comes to trans bathrooms, trans sports, what have you, these constant attempts to try to redefine what it means to be a woman. And that being the case, you've taken the bird of society and clipped one of its wings. That's what's effectively happened. Women need to understand that there's been a lot of these feminist and other bad actors who have allowed the definition of female to become anything at all. And as a result, it becomes nothing. That's the end result of all of the stuff that's been going on for the last 50 years. This is not gender bending going on anymore. This is just plain gender elimination. And look at who's being eliminated. Can a female exist without her womanhood? But I also want black women in particular to understand that a lot of this ideological infiltration that's taken place the last 3 to 4 generations, this stuff has not been harmless at all. The enemy is always watching us, family. As I've always told you, nothing happens in a vacuum under white supremacy. We are a people under surveillance. and the enemy has looked to see were there any kind of entry points that they could spy. And they did find a number of them. The line that marks the boundary of feminine propriety has been allowed to be blurred over the decades. You've had all kinds of things where, alternate lifestyles have become very fashionable and very popular with black women in church. Social circles or political organizations, there's always some black feminist who's trying to lead the charge to have some dysfunctional male around. And the white media encourage this with stupid so-called Father's Day messages for black women. They only push that stuff at black women. They only try to popularize that with black women. They don't do that with other groups. They don't try to derange their internal politics. They don't try to spread that kind of madness with anybody else. Now, the failed females of the shea butter bootlick contingent, they thought that kind of stuff was cute. They were the main ones cheerleading for it. They hate black men because they wanted to be a man, and when they realized that was never going to happen, they entered into an unholy alliance with the white feminist and the white power structure, mostly the white media and academic institutions, to push these lies that black men are no good, and to prove it, they started that crap about I'm the mother and the father. Now, when you got women running around saying stuff like that, the white media start licking their chops and saying, good, now that you've already said that you're the father, let's go ahead and just eliminate the mother part altogether. You're just the daddy, period. White power was laughing its behinds off because they knew exactly how this was going to end. Yeah, it took a few decades, but as I've always taught you, white power loves a cruel prank, especially one that takes a long time to pay off. They love seeing the mark thinking that they're on the inside. The mark thinking that they're standing among friends when in reality, they're surrounded by enemies. Everyone's laughing behind the mark's back. Black feminist operatives like Oprah Winfrey, Gayle King, Angela Rye, and others, they convinced themselves the white power loves black women, and they were gassing people's heads up with all of this phony propaganda pretending to celebrate black female achievement, pretending to celebrate black women's success. But you saw what happened this year. There's been massive layoffs, and even though there's actually been white women who have been caught up in it, they wanted to make sure that black women were the face of, here's the people who are losing these jobs the most. They wanted to make sure black women were the face of who's getting fired. That's deliberate. It was the exact same narrative the white power fed to black immigrants, by the way. Well, this year the rug's getting pulled out from under everyone. It's both disgusting and a disgrace what's being done. The white media's anti-black propaganda is disgusting, and Cynthia Erivo is a disgrace. And please don't let some idiot tell you, well, this is British GQ. It's still GQ, stupid. And on top of that, you better believe that when something of this nature happens, this is them going ahead and trying to tiptoe up to the line. Now that they've gone ahead and done this, they're going to see how far they can push it. It's going to start off over there in Britain, and before long, it's going to be making its way over here to the U.S. in some big way. So what's going to happen is they're going to take some idiot, maybe Cynthia Erivo, probably somebody else, because they want this to spread, and they're going to give that person some sort of big write-up in the New York Times or something like that. They're going to try to make it sound prestigious. Oh, we're just recognizing that this black woman over here is a great man. Yeah, there's nothing feminine about her at all. I mean, she's just so defiant, so virile, so masculine. Spitting in people's faces and getting them to believe that it's actually raining. No cure for stupid. But this is the reason why we have absolutely nothing to do with these celebrities over there in Hollyweird. All of these clowns have sold out. Whenever they talk about blackness, they're never talking about the collective. They're always just talking about themselves. To them, blackness is a very personal thing. In fact, it's so personal that it only applies to them and no one else. And their personal definition of blackness changes depending on what white studio executive is offering them a check. And that's the reason why you're not going to be seeing any of those folks out there in Hollywood. None of them Negroes out there are going to be saying, hey, this is foul and wrong, and Cynthia Erivo needs to be shut down because of it. They're not going to be doing that. This is why the white media was pretending to be so hot and bothered about this woman. It wasn't because they thought she had talent. It's because she's exactly the kind of sniveling suck-up that they can use to take shots at us. That's the real talent that she has. To lick the white media's boots to a mirror shine and have a crap-eating grin on her face while she's doing it. This woman is shameless. And you're going to have folks out there, the usual suspects, who are going to be saying, well, this is show business after all. Well, they're right in a way. It's definitely a show. A freak show. Good evening, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Kenneth Prescia, Carolyn Hughley, David Harris, Kamari Wright, and Jesse Good. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.